Good morning, students. I'm Harry sir. Today I'm going to take up a poem which is Nine Gold Medals, and it is written by David Roth. So let me start, and I'll tell you something about the writer first. David Roth is an American vocalist, songwriter, actor, author, and radio personality. So David Roth has multi-purpose personality. He is like multi-talented person. He is the lead singer of the famous hard rock band Van Halen and is also a successful soloist. He is also a singer, and he sings in the band of Van Halen. You can read about or see Van Halen in YouTube. So let me start with this poem, The Nine Gold Medals. The athletes had come from so many countries to run for the gold, for the silver and bronze. The athletes had come from so many countries. So here we are talking about, I guess we are talking about Special Olympics. Olympics were to be held, and they were known as Special Olympics, and they were for disabled people. So they were known as Special Olympics. The athletes had come from so many countries. There were athletes who were to participate, they had come from many countries to run for gold, for silver and bronze. They wanted, there was athletes who wanted gold, they were looking for gold. There were athletes who wanted silver, they were running for bronze, they were participating for bronze medal also. Many weeks and months in training, all building up to the games. And all these athletes had trained themselves weeks before the Olympics. They had been training themselves hard just to win medals. That's the first paragraph. Many weeks and training and months in training, all building up to the games. So before the games actually started, they had been training weeks before. Second paragraph. All round the field, spectators were gathered, cheering on all young women and men. And as you know, like Olympics were being held, and there was a stadium, and there were spectators all around. They were cheering for the athletes. They were cheering on all the young men and women. There were so many athletes, and the spectators were cheering. Then the final event of the day was approaching. And then the final event of the day, that was the last race, the final event was about to come. That was the last race that would be held that day. The final event of the day was approaching, the last race about to begin. And the last event of the last race was about to begin. The loudspeakers called out the names of the runners. The names of the runners, the participants, their names were announced on the loudspeakers so that they could come and take part. The 100 meters, the race to be run. It was the 100 meters race which was to be run. So all the participants were being called who were taking part. And 9 young athletes stood there determined and poised for the sound of the gun. And at the starting point of the 100 meters, there were 9 athletes. There were 9 tracks, so there were 9 athletes who were ready to listen to the fire of the gun and start off with the race. And it says, and poised for the sound of the gun. They were waiting for the sound of the gun. The signal was given. The pistol exploded. Suddenly the signal was given, and the signal was that the pistol exploded. The person fired the pistol for the race to start. And so did the runners on hearing the sound. And so did the participants, the runners who were taking part in the last race. They started running on hearing the sound. But the youngest among them stumbled and staggered. But the youngest athlete out of all those 9, when the race actually started with the sound, he stumbled. मतलब वो थोड़ा सा लड़खड़ाया, stumbled and staggered, और वो वहाँ पे गिर गया. And he fell on his knees to the ground, and he fell on the ground. As soon as the race started, the runners started running. The the athlete who was the youngest stumbled, ladkhlaya, and fell down on his knees on the ground. He gave out a cry of frustration and anguish. As the youngest athlete fell down, he was very sad, He was literally crying, frustrated, and didn't know what to do. Just because these runners, it was the only opportunity for them to win gold, bronze, or silver. So that's why he was frustrated and he was crying because he had fallen down. His dreams and his efforts dashed in the dirt. Because he knew now that he is fallen down, his dreams are all shattered, they've gone down. His efforts that he had made, the training that he had gone through, all gone into the dirt just because he fell down. So he knew now that he could not win the race. But as sure as I'm standing here telling the story, now it's a strange one, but here's what occurred. But as sure as I'm standing here, the poet says, now that I'm standing here and looking at this scenario, I will tell you something which happened there. And now I'm going to tell you what exactly happened. Now it's a strange one, but here's what occurred. It's a strange thing which I'm about to tell you, the poet says, but I have to tell you. The 8 other athletes stopped in their tracks. The other 8 athletes who were running, when they looked at this 9th one, the youngest one, fall down, they all stopped. The ones who had trained for so long to compete, all the trainers, all the athletes who had trained so hard before the Olympics, all of them stopped. One by one, they turned round and came back to help him. And one by one, all the other 9 athletes, all the other 8 athletes came up to him. They were asking him what happened. They were taking care of him. They were bothered. They were showing their concern and lifted the lad to his feet. And they all lifted the smallest or the youngest athlete on his feet. All of them, all the 8, stopped the race, came up to this youngest athlete. They were worried about him. They lifted him to his feet. Then all 9 runners joined hands and continued. All the 9 runners. They joined hands like this, held hands, and they walked towards the finishing line. The 100 meters reduced to a walk, and the race that was the 100 meters race where they all had to run was reduced to a walk because all the 9 athletes were holding hands and walking towards the finish line. And the banner above that said Special Olympics could not have been nearer the mark. And there was a banner they had and it was written Special Olympics. This word Special Olympics could not be better what the audience saw or what the poet saw. It really meant could not have been near the mark. This was up to the mark title, Special Olympics. Because all the 8 athletes picked up the 9th athletes who was young and took him to the finishing line. You could not see a better sense than Special Olympics. This title is apt, Special Olympics. That's how the race ended. This is how the race ended. With 9 gold medals. And all the 9 athletes got a gold medal. So that's why the story or rather the poem name is the 9 gold medals, because all the 9 athletes were awarded gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands, and when they were approaching the finishing line, they all were holding each other's hands. And the banner above and 9 smiling faces. There was a banner above them. As I've told you, it was written Special Olympics, and they were all smiling. So there were 9 smiling faces. Said more than these words ever will. Said more than these words ever will. Their smiling faces, they're holding hands and walking towards the line. They're holding the banner written Special Olympics. This scene just cannot be explained. It was a very heart-touching experience. And I guess no words can ever describe the feeling the poet went through or the audience were going through. So now, I hope you've understood the poem. If you have any questions and queries, please get back to me.